Welcome back to
Growing with the Greens.
Yes. You have to excuse me, y'all. Baby Kai, our dog, is down here raising hell right now.
He wants to join the party.
Yeah, I guess so, but he can't. We're on a mission. We have stuff to do. Yeah. So welcome back to everybody that has been here before, and hello to all of our new ones.
Yes, if you're here for the first time, thank you so much. My name is Tanya.
And I'm Janae.
Yes. And we've had this podcast for a few months now. We started off in the beginning of the year, really exciting. A lot of growth has happened, which is a great thing. It's a win-win for us in this podcast because we get to grow ourselves and reflect on that, but also get to see your own growth and seeing the things that you comment back to us or even tell us and seeing your growth is really amazing.
It's been a great journey. It's definitely been a great journey. I know there's definitely more to come.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're starting off nice and slow. So, definitely looking forward to what's coming. This has just been a great season for us. A lot of change.
Definitely.
A lot of new beginnings, starting up stuff. So,
yeah. And good. Speaking of change, right, we talked a lot about our own experiences with change and developing and growing. Last episode, we did the analogy of the butterfly, right? And the cycle of a butterfly.
Yep.
And that's the analogy of representing where we're at, too, in our journeys and seeing the difficulties around it as well. So it was really nice to reflect on that and figuring out one of the main points that you said is being in our cocoon stage.
Yeah. I talked a lot about being in that middle stage, you know, because everybody talks about the caterpillar and how it's rough being the caterpillar, rolling on his belly, but then going to the cocoon. That's like that in-between stage of what to do. And you just kind of have to be settled. You have to be patient. And that's what we talked about last week of just that cocoon stage, what to do with it.
And I think the other beautiful part about that you mentioned is that we are constantly in our cocoon stage. We develop and grow many times throughout our life. We have different layers that we expose, of ourselves, that we heal of ourselves, right? So I think in that growth period, all of it's beautiful. However, some of it can be very challenging, and we have to acknowledge that. Not only acknowledging it and realizing that it happens, but in those uncomfortable, hard times, giving ourselves grace that we are transforming into something new, right? So I urge you guys, as you see this episode, is to really give yourself some compassion that we understand it's not easy, and the focus of it is not to be perfect.
Right. Perfect. What is perfection? Right. That's number one. There's no such thing as perfection, so I personally feel that the best thing you can do is be authentic. You have to be real with yourself, and you have to be willing to do the work, for it. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
But I mean, in being authentic too, we have to also realize that we do deal with a lot of difficulties with our own thoughts about ourselves. I mean, I know for myself and for you as well, and I'm sure for many of us, we are our own worst critics, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there are times when it's very difficult for us to develop and keep going and continue moving forward with confidence, right? Because in the back of my mind, we're always thinking, did I do good? Did I not? And that's a lot of what we experience. And I know many of us really experience in this cocoon stage is those insecurities of, will I be good enough next, right?
Yeah. That's so true. Because as we talked about being in that cocoon stage, there's so much that happens inside of that. And that self-doubt is definitely a big thing when you're inside of that cocoon. And that self-doubt brings on the insecurities on, but when I come out of this cocoon, what's going to happen?
Yes.
What next? So those insecurities have time to brew because being in that in-between stage, you're not where you were. but you're not where you're going to be either.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, I know I've grown from that spot, but like, what am I growing into?
Right.
You know, so it puts all of these self-doubt thoughts inside of our minds that kind of puts us into a spot of like, we're in this cocoon stage, but I'm feeling bad. I'm even feeling bad in this time, you know.
Right.
But what are we doing to continue on the journey of not giving up, right? Mm-hmm. Because this cocoon stage may be a time of stillness.
Right.
You know, and in stillness, what is stillness a lot of times brings us is awareness. Mm-hmm. And awareness brings self-doubt. Yeah. Awareness brings, you know, self-esteem issues. Mm-hmm. So all of these things are a battle.
Right.
We never said at any point that this in-between stage, this growth stage, is going to be an easy one. Right. We see what it's going to be, but now we're trying to figure out how we're still going to get to there.
Yeah, and I think that when you said that, it was a clear representation of something that I am currently struggling with.
Really?
I feel with my own insecurities. And you mentioned, okay, so you're in this spot of your self-doubt, right? Mm-hmm. And you're uncomfortable. And it's like, how the heck do I keep going when I have such doubt and that sometimes pull me back and frees me to a point that I don't want to keep going further.
Mm-hmm. Wait, but pause.
Yeah.
Right? I want you to finish that. But you said two things that really kind of contradict themselves, right?
Tell me.
Because you said that you freeze. Mm-hmm. Freezing is a point of what?
Stillness.
Yeah. Right? But yet, what do you want to do? You freeze and you look back, but you're not going back. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's number one. I think a lot of us forget that part of when we look back, that is still behind us.
Right.
It's behind us, right? We're not going back there.
Yeah.
We're just frozen.
You know, I think I like that you said that too, because sometimes when we do feel like we're in stillness and we're pausing and we're not going forward to the next part, we think, oh, that must mean I'm bad. That must mean I'm taking a step back. That means I'm not where I'm going to go.
Yep.
Right. And that kind of, I see what you're saying with that. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily pulling me back. Mm-hmm. It's making me still. That actually really helps me even more feel more compassionate and saying, okay, it's not like I'm going,
yes,
you know,
yes.
It's not like I'm a failure.
Yes.
It's more so I just need some more time here to brew and really understand myself.
That's what it is.
Because that's where I was going next, right? So I said to myself, in this moment of pause, which for me, it was, I am having a hard time pronouncing things a lot.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll speak really, really fast. And
so you're not articulating your words.
Yes, there we go. Did I say pronunciating? Is it pronunciating?
Well, you kind of made up a word, but you know, hey, this is your world. You do what you want to.
Speaking of, another thing too, sometimes I lack a good jargon, I guess, and way of explaining things because I lose my words, right?
Okay.
But I think what that pause was for me to reflect on that and saying, what are you going to do about it, Tanya, then? What are you going to do about it? So I think is then putting into work that acknowledgement, that awareness to then slow myself down and remind myself, slow myself down. Tanya, you want to learn more words? Get this app, which I am looking to get this app actually. But I think right now I'm having this whole epiphany, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, okay, Tanya, then if you want to be able to explain yourself better with a good language, you know, I think that's what I need to do. So yeah, I think that's for me one of those biggest parts is like, okay, if you don't know something, that's okay. You're learning. And so the more you're aware by yourself, the more you create things for yourself to be able to go forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And you see, so even that pause right there of me giving you that chance to stop yourself, praise yourself first, right? For what you've already accomplished.
Right.
And then after that praise, it's easier for you to evaluate a situation on what can I do That's the next question, right? Because it's like, dang, yeah, girl, you ain't go back to where you was before. You know what I'm saying? You ain't just get upset and be like, I'm not talking to nobody no more type of thing. Or I'm not doing this, these presentations anymore or whatever, right? So you gave yourself that, you know what, that compassion of like, you did good right there. You know? So it gave you that time, that stillness, right? To be able to be like, okay, change the question that you had at the end of that now. Because now the question was, okay, Tanya, what am I going to do to stop doing, what I used to do? That was the change. That was the stillness that you needed to come up with the question that you needed to come out of that situation. Yeah. Instead of not giving yourself that grace, right? Being upset with yourself, being like, oh my gosh, like, I can't get these words out. What's wrong with me? I can't do it. So now you put your mind into a frame of upsetness, right? You've upset yourself. You're angry. You may be sad or disappointed. So now you can no longer just be stuck. Right. Now you're taking yourself back to where you were. Right. And being like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Da-da-da-da. You took yourself back to that spot where you've already come from. Right. It's just a different way. So your question probably and could have been at that point, instead of what can I do, it would have been like, why am I like this? Right. Yeah. Yeah. Another self-inflicted question. Yeah. Because what do you mean, why am I like this? Why am I trying to learn something new? Why am I trying to better myself? Yeah. So it was just that little pause that we have to start learning how to give ourselves. Yeah. We talk about that a lot in therapy is cognitive reframing. So if you can reframe your words to give yourself a little bit more compassion during that time. Yep. So instead of like you said. Wait, is she saying I'm a therapist? Just give me the letters, baby. Listen. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, no, go ahead. There's a lot of blood and tears, so I know. But the gift that you have within yourself really speaks out right now. Yeah, but the way these loans are looking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, I'm sorry, but go ahead. No, I say this to say that I think part of what we do is reframe to give ourselves more compassion and seeing a different way to allow us to keep going. Exactly. But that part where you said, what I would have said before, I think that comes from understanding that this is a way of your protection. You protected yourself there because this was uncomfortable, and it all stems from something in the past, right? In your childhood. Sure. Some type of trauma, some type of intervention. Yes. That made me then react this way in order to protect myself. But now I'm like, okay, I'm an adult. I can make my own choices. I don't need to follow what somebody else expects of me, Or again, we talked about it last time, what we think they expect of us too, right? Yeah. So, I just have to stop you. You're just so beautiful. Like, you look good today. I don't know. I just had to look at you. I'm like, dang, I'm trying to really focus on what you're saying. Oh. I'm like, oh my gosh. You come with my curls. Yeah, your curls is popping. Your curls is having popping. A good day. Yeah, you're having a good hair day. But yeah, you're a beautiful woman. I love you, baby. All right. Keep on going. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Intermission. You have to do it when it's fresh. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. I love it. No, don't be sorry about that. Definitely. But what about for you? What are some of your maybe insecurities and things that you are growing from, or maybe a past one? I would definitely say that I'm on that train with you with my articulation of words. A lot of time because I do have a slight learning disability. I'm dyslexic. Right. So being dyslexic all my childhood life, that, growing up in the 90s, you really didn't get diagnosed unless you just couldn't do, absolutely was like a zero or definitely behind. So I didn't get a lot of help with my dyslexia. So it's always been one of those things that like made me feel uncomfortable because I don't like to read aloud because there's a lot of words I don't know. So my articulation is difficult for me. So that's a huge insecurity. And I love to talk. Right. The way I love to talk and to be in front of people and to present myself, it's weird how those two don't go hand in hand. But I can honestly say that is one of my biggest insecurities. A second one for me, used to be back it was my weight. Like that was an insecurity because I'm a big woman. So I've always had problems dealing with my size and how to manipulate my size to work with me and society type of thing, So definitely like my speech and my weight.
Okay. Yeah. And so how do they differ now? And you mentioned that was an insecurity before. How did you grow through that?
Well, I think for my speech, I'm still growing through that because being a 40-year-old woman that really had to realize that you have a learning disability and had it this whole time and it just never got looked at is difficult to come to grips with. But it also gave me the permission to be okay and confident in my skills that I have right now and working on how to strengthen those skills.
Right.
Like, so that's why I not only read, but I also listen to audiobooks because it gives me that I'm able to auditory, hear something, but also I need to put a lot of times that auditory to words.
Right.
So I can comprehend things. And that's honestly helping my vocabulary as well, So that and the weight, like I'm just learning to love myself.
Right.
Throughout these years, like sometimes it's an insecurity, like when I'm in new places or like in huge gatherings that I'm the center of attention, it crosses the back of my mind. But like I've worked too hard on developing who I am as a person, my personal style, my personality, like my characteristics. So I kind of just like go with it, I kind of go with it, but like, do I have smaller insecurities, like everyday insecurities? Yeah, but those two major ones that I've had in the past and sometimes still creep up on me, because I don't feel like anything could always be like all the way done.
Right.
There's something that could always bring that thought back up of how you felt. You could get over it quicker or deal with the issue faster. But yeah, those are two things that,
As you're mentioning that, I think one of the parts that bring insecurities too is what will other people think of me?
Oh, for sure.
So, and when I categorize what other people, I think about anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody. And then I had listened to this podcast. I believe it was with Brene Brown, and she mentioned something of she had gone to a conference, she had talked, and these people were talking so much crap about her in the comments. Like it was
about her,
so mean.
Okay,
her age, the way that she was talking about things, her body, anything, right? And then she said, she was like, to overcome that, I had to acknowledge if you are not doing the things that I am doing, if you're not growing, if you're not developing, why am I taking advice from you? You're over here calling me out when I'm over here in this level. So why do I care what you think, right? And it's not to seem like, oh, you're below me, right?
Yeah.
But it's like those words don't mean anything if they are not, a package that actually means something, right? Like if you were, developed and you're growing and you're learning, first of all, that person is not going to talk bad about you because they're on that journey with you. So they know what it takes, right? So they're going to teach you, right? Ooh. When these people are talking bad, it's that they don't know. They're not learning. They're not growing, right? They're staying where they're at, and their lack of confidence is showing through those comments, right? So all that to say, I have that in my mind for the most part all the time whenever I'm going out in the streets and I feel like, what I look like might not be presentable for some people. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going into this journey of podcasting, right? And somebody's talking bad about how I'm speaking.
Yeah.
Where are you?
That you're not willing to give a helping hand.
Right.
Or like criticism that's going to help me on this journey.
Exactly.
But you're trying to put me down, so that shows that you're lower than I am.
Right. Absolutely.
And who is this?
Brene Brown.
Brene Brown. Yeah. That resonated really a lot.
Books. I mean, she's
awesome. Oh yeah, she is amazing.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah, that put things into a bit more perspective right there of actually caring about what people think. Don't nobody care.
Right.
Don't nobody care. Right.
But it really does help with the imposter syndrome. We talk a lot about that, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And feeling like, am I going to mount up? Am I going to be good enough for this? Yeah. Podcast? Am I going to be good enough to take on these clients? And, it could be really difficult. That's real. Yeah. Yeah. So I think realizing this right now for me, I think one of my biggest parts that I'm really working on now is I just started this private practice. Okay. So for anybody who doesn't know, thank you.
Yes. She's seeing her own clients right now. My own clients,
which means I am in the nonprofit, yes, but I'm also seeing clients on my own under my own license and my own practice too. So I'm really excited. Yay to us with this, because you played a huge part in helping me through this process. Oh, thank you. So
I got you.
Definitely.
Yeah. But so what's some insecurities on that's a new journey. That's a big journey.
It's a big journey. Yeah. Because the difference is with a nonprofit organization, they handle pretty much everything. I'm just getting the clients in, right? Yeah. With this, I kind of have to be a manager. I have to be the billing. I have to be all of everything. This. Yeah. So for me, I'm getting a little overwhelmed, and that overwhelm is showing up as a lot of insecurities. Yeah. Of, am I going to be able to do this? Coming from a place of, I know exactly what I'm doing when I bring my clients in. I'm learning through that process and how engaging with the clients that I serve. But also, what is this other part with the business where I have to make sure that everything aligns, my paperwork, the legalities, the contracts, so that for me has been really challenging, and just I'm in full gear, and now, like you mentioned, I'm kind of at a pause, a reflection of, okay, reframing and saying, what do I have to do here now to get to where I want to be? Yeah. This is now a new level. If you can think about it as a game, right?
Yeah, it's a new level of bossness. Really?
Yeah. Which is a great thing. And that's the thing. Like, sometimes we fail to acknowledge this is good trouble.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
It's trouble, but it's good trouble. But at the same time, it's really uncomfortable. I'm not in my safe bubble, safe space that I know everything, right? Yep. So now I'm in another one where there's a little bit of an opening where I have to figure things out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So that's a big insecurity. That's a big insecurity of not knowing something that you thought you did.
Yes.
And not knowing what the outcome is going to be, and how
the unknown.
Yeah.
That's the scary part.
That's a big one. I think that's an insecurity for a lot of us, is not knowing if we're going to accomplish our goals.
Yes.
And so having that insecurity be in the forefront of our mind, that creates that stillness as well. But in that stillness, we just need to reframe our mind and to see where we're going to move forward and what question is going to come after that.
I hope everybody just realizes, when she mentioned the whole therapist thing, I was kidding about no blood and tears. But this woman, I hope you understand the nugget she just threw at you guys with this bomb that I felt fell in my head right now. Earlier when you just mentioned we're at a stillness rather than going backwards. That in itself, that image that I see in my mind, helps me so much feel like, okay, this is just a breather. This is just a stopping point for me to get some water before I complete the race, right?
You better say that.
Versus the thinking that I'm going backwards in the race, right? So if you can just, that in itself help you feel more compassionate about yourself and saying, okay, this is not a step back. This is just a point of me to catch my breath.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
You said it so well. It's a point for me to catch my breath and acknowledge what you've come from.
Right.
And give yourself grace for that. You know, like you said, I think you chose the perfect word, and that's compassion. We don't give ourselves enough compassion when we've completed even the smallest task. Because to someone else that's already behind us, that's a big task that you've accomplished.
Oh, for sure.
Even on your personal journey.
Right.
To someone else, that's a big task. Yeah. So like just wrapping up everything, I think you like made such a great point of what you just said. This whole cocoon, all of these analogies really just come to the point of giving yourself compassion.
Right. Yeah.
That through this journey, it is not going to be easy. It may not be fun. There may be fun points in it, but it's hard work. It's hard work just being still.
Right.
Because so much revelation comes to you when you're still.
Yes.
That's when you get to hear the most. And that's what you need to do sometimes is to hear those comforting, like I'm a spiritual person, so I could say hearing God's words of comfort at that point of stillness to know that I got you.
Right.
Like we there, we there. You just need to catch your breath and be okay in the present moment of what's happening. Yeah. Because that's really where those amazing questions of I guess what movement comes from.
Yeah.
And because you can't stay still all the time.
Right.
And I feel like when you're able to open yourself up and be okay with the stillness, that's when you know that period of time won't last forever.
Yeah, exactly.
And just be okay with that in between.
Yeah, exactly. Be okay with it and learn how to navigate that in between. Yes. As we mentioned, a lot of it is doing that mirror work, right? Looking at yourself and acknowledging where you're at in your journey, right? Yeah. Giving yourself that compassion and being able to then speak to yourself and say, what is it that I need now? Or if you're spiritual, and asking God, for him to tell you what could be something that can help you, support you through this process. So I think ultimately there are tools that you can use during this space to make it a little less uncomfortable while acknowledging it is going to be uncomfortable because I don't know what's going to happen next. Yep. This is new to me. Yep. So I acknowledge that, I think.
Exactly. And you want to give yourself the time and the space to fully hear and understand everything. Because once you come out of that cocoon, you want to make sure that you have, like, I feel like going back to the analogy of the cocoon, like once that butterfly comes out of the cocoon, it's ready to fly. Yeah. The wings come out big, bright, but wise, because it took that time to be still inside of the cocoon. Because if it would have skipped that process, what would have came out of it?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing would have came out of it. It would have died.
Yes.
Right. Without the stillness, without just that in between of looking back, I'm not where I was, but I'm looking forward. I see where I want to be. Like, just keep that at the forefront of your mind, and you got this.
Yes. It's so funny that you say that. I was thinking back, you probably did it too when we were working at the preschools and daycares where we had a little net.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
I remember one kid took it and took one out. It's like, I just want to see it out. And they killed that one, right? But it's like so much of what you realize. If we're rushing too fast to go through, and this is something that actually Janae is teaching me because I go in head first. I don't really.
She just be like dive in. She like, doop. And you ever see those videos where someone dives into shallow water, and it'd be like, well, if you just want to wait. She's like, well, I saw people standing there. I was deeper.
That is so me. But it's the thing that happens when you just don't take the time to just. There's a purpose in that. There's a huge purpose. Without that, I don't see yourself flourishing at all.
Yeah, for sure. No, this was really good conversation today.
Healing conversation. I feel like I got some good.
You got something for me today?
I did. I usually get a lot from you, babe.
But usually you be giving me them nuggets. Yeah. You be opening me up to new things. I'm so happy I was able to do that for you today.
Thank you, babe. And hopefully to a lot of you as well.
Yes, for sure.
Taking in what we've learned, and hopefully you can adapt it as well.
Yeah.
For yourself.
And if you don't take anything else from hearing anything that we've said today on this episode, I want you to take with you that, you are worthy of your stillness.
Yes.
You are worthy of the in-between stages of your life. And it doesn't matter how many times that they come, you are worthy of it. You are worth it. Give yourself that compassion to be okay. You know, be okay with not being okay sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, so exactly. Until next time, y'all.
Yes. What? Yes. Don't forget to follow, comment if you have any other questions.
No, please subscribe, yo. Hit that subscribe button and show this to your people, you know, because I definitely feel like someone's going to get something out of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So, hey, we hope to see y'all next time. All right? Bye. Another one going with the grease. Hey. Yeah.
Bye.